So guys, a bit of bad news. We got the cradle all in and everything lines up pretty well. The only issue is these coilovers. So the intention was to run these Fox Ridetech coilovers since they're an all-in-one actual unit. These are a single adjustable damper setup, obviously with a coil. The issue is they are just not tall enough. I'm thinking I either have the wrong tube. They must have either sent the wrong tube in it, or there's just something completely out of the norm for this application. This is an all-wheel drive charger, obviously, but the back of the vehicle is identical to a rear-wheel drive car, so there should be no reason why this coilover on both sides does not meet to the top. Physically the damper cannot extend out, so actually tightening down the spring won't do anything. It's just not long enough. I looked at a few other pictures from folks who use this, and it really seems like this damper is a little bit longer in those applications that they got than what I have here, which is really weird because my manual and everything says for this year platform. So again, it's a bit weird. We had BC Racing coilovers on here originally. The issue is, if you guys can see, now that we have the upgraded half shafts, the CV shafts that you see right there, the clearance is not super ideal. And you have to run a skinny lower section of that damper or coil over itself. Otherwise the coilover would rip that boot over time. And so the BC coilover that we had back here for the all-wheel drive application, pretty nice little unit. The bottom of that is way thicker down here, and it would just never fit. It would have to be highly modified to get that longer tube down at the bottom, because it's just probably way thicker, probably at least like almost 2 inches in diameter, versus about like a little over an inch or a little under an inch there. So not great news. What I think we're going to do is look at ordering a Demon suspension set. It seems to be what a lot of folks like to use on upgraded Chargers and Challengers. The Demon coils, obviously we're gonna have to go back to a divorce setup. Not ideal. I much prefer an all-in-one coilover front and rear, but it just doesn't seem to be in the cards for this car. We're gonna go and grab some Demon springs, throw back in our perch mounts, and then we're gonna get some Viking dual adjustable dampers, specifically meant for this application, that should work well. And again, the nice part is, since this is the essentially the rear wheel drive back part of the car, those come with a much slenderer bottom section to this damper, so we should be able to run it fine. But if you guys know, or if somebody at YIKES could help me out, we're gonna go ahead and keep these just in case we can figure it out. But at least right now, the D-min setup will probably be better overall in what we're trying to do with this car. This was kind of like an all-arounder setup right now with these coilovers. And the nice part is YIKES would change the springs, change the rates, things like that. And then with the damper, adjustable damper on top of that, it's a pretty nice unit. But if it won't even fit, then there's not much I can do. But there's like a solid 3 inches that has to be made up somewhere that I'm just not figuring out here after I've stared at it for a few hours, thought about it, looked at pictures, etc. So kind of sucks, like I said, but we're going to keep these on hand. Can't use the BCs because they're too thick. We're going to try a full setup for a D-min on the back here, which will go very well with the rest of the build. So we're going to take these guys out and move on to the next thing, guys. All right, guys, we're under the car again now that we got the subframe all installed and the few other parts here routed with the differential. So what we're going to do is finish out that DURS brace for the back of the differential here. Bolts on using these 2 casing bolts, and we're gonna have to drill out this guy right here. 2 holes, a bit dark, but ultimately it's going to bolt right into the subframe right here and then back into that. So that's going to be the primary thing. Get some connection lines for the ABS wheel speed sensors connected back. Route a few other things. Reconnect fuel, we got to finish that. Take off the coilovers. And yeah, route what we need to the front and get this guy all connected. So let's go ahead and do it. We got the hop switch for the fuel pump ran through all the way to the front of the vehicle, and this has got to be mounted somewhere on a static place, and so that's going to be done later once we get the motor in and we see where everything's going to lay. But at least we got the sensor disconnectable, replaceable, all set up. So the cool part is, guys, we were able to reuse this stock tray that is on the passenger side of the vehicle. We've got brake lines for both sides of the rear. We got a vapor line, still stock, and then we've got the fire retardant line, the fire extinguisher line ran through, since this would have been for the 3/8 fuel line for the actual original OEM system, and instead it fits perfectly in it. In fact, just a little bit smaller, able to fit in all of these brackets here and go all the way to the front of the vehicle without, you know, doing anything weird on the interior of it. So we were really happy. We probably need to get some more of this line though. This is kind of some nice Inflex line, just so we can finish the routing out on the actual engine bay. But yeah, really nice line, guys. right, guys, we got the original nuts drilled out of the subframe. This one was a little bit of a pain until I figured it out, and this one went pretty well. So now that we've got those guys out, we're gonna actually add the durs, which essentially just bolts, except it's flipped around, just like that. And then there'd be a small piece of rubber that we're gonna throw in there, and then obviously the bolts. Everything should line up quite well. And from there, our brace is attached to our differential, so we can try and eliminate as much torque on the actual case of the differential that ultimately could cause it to crack or something like that, fail in a catastrophic way. So we want to try and avoid that. That's why it's so important to throw a brace on these Hellcat cars, because the amount of torque is just crazy coming through these motors. So anyway, let's go ahead and finish this guy out, throw in the bolts, get it tightened.